Before we begin anything today, I would like to present to you, Adam actually gave me these flowers in the middle of the video, the last video that I filmed on this channel, and it stinks. Can you see that? Is that on show? I'm trying to show this off in the most subtle way possible. Yeah, I think you can see that. So I thought I would do an updated hair timeline video. I really loved doing this before, and I made this video almost exactly 3 years ago today. I mean, not really. Did I? Maybe. 2017, on the 8th of March, I did a my hair colour journey reacting to old photos. The very first time I ever changed my hair up until that very moment. I will leave a link down there. And in this video, I'm obviously only going to cover like 3 years of different hair stuff I've done. We are going to literally start from the time that I met Adam. So it was literally 4 years exactly from where we are now. So if you didn't know, I met Adam on my 21st birthday party, hence why there's our 21st bloom bar. I actually had plonked some orange over my faded red hair in this era of my life because I was like, I want to try orange. I've never actually gone full, at this point I hadn't gone full blown orange. I thought plonking orange on top of faded red would make me orange, but it actually just annoyed me because everyone was like, oh, I like your red hair, and I was like, bitch, I put orange on this, but people just couldn't tell and it wasn't their fault, it was mine for assuming that would work. So I learnt my lesson. I just thought I can't be bothered to fully commit to an orange and do everything I need to do to get orange, so started buying red dye again, and then I got myself back to like such a nice red. And I actually had this red for a long time. The reason why you're gonna think I'm absolutely crazy, but the reason why I had this hair for red for so long was because I'd met Adam and I knew he liked my red hair. Guys seem to like red hair on me. I don't know, like every time I've had red hair, I've like started a new commitment in a relationship, and I started thinking in my head, like, is this because it looks better on me? Like, is this my lucky charm? Is this my lucky color? And people were always telling me online that red is my color. Everyone says no matter what colors you go, red will always be like, oh, it's Ellie. Like, do you know what I mean? So I didn't want to get rid of this hair. I was like, this is me. If I get rid of it, am I going to curse myself? This relationship that I found that I was so happy in, am I going to ruin it by changing my hair color? Is Adam going to look at me and be like, who is she? And as well as that, I was growing my hair at this time and it was getting pretty long. I remember thinking like, what other hair colors should I get that would suit long hair? Because having that length made me want to experiment with the length. Like I was like, oh, I want to try different things now. But I knew that experimenting with dye and with long hair is a whole new ball game because there's more ways you can go wrong. Obviously it's more money because you've got to buy more tubs of dye. There's more length for like problems to arise, such as when you get banding strips of kind of different tones and shades down your hair, which is basically like your hair color history showing, if that makes sense. So if I had blue hair like 3 years ago, you might be able to see like a strip of like purple here because like over time that's grown down my hair and it's like still stained that section of my hair, if that makes sense. So having long hair can always be a little bit scary when you're experimenting with new colors. I really loved the idea of having long, luscious blue hair, particularly dark blue. Navy blue hair I think is so stunning. When I see it on people, I'm always like amazed and just can't stop looking because I think it's so gorgeous, particularly because I know it's so hard to achieve, and also it's quite rare because of that. So it's a bit like seeing like a shiny Pokemon somewhere. You know it's hard to get, so you appreciate it more, and you kind of just, you can't stop staring at it. You're like, oh my god, that's really pretty. Like a royal blue on your hair is just really stunning. So one day I was like, screw it. I faded my hair out as much as I possibly can. I mean, in hindsight, was it faded out enough? I don't know. But you know me, a lot of people say to me, why is your hair not damaged, or why is your hair not falling out considering you dye it so much? But it is because, ladies and gentlemen, I don't like bleaching my hair. Like, people assume that I bleach my hair every time I change my hair colors. I do not. It's just a process of patience, washing out your hair color as much as you can, using warm water, using products that kind of will really like get into your hair and like, you know, let everything out and strip it as naturally as possible. Should I have gone blue after red? Probably not. Why? Because this color wheel here, ladies and gentlemen, which should be listened to at all times and not ignored, sometimes my desire to get a certain colour is too strong to listen to it. I should have gone like to a pink, to a purple, and then a blue. I just went straight up to blue, hence why my hair started going a little bit like patchy pink and purple. Makes freaking sense, right? I liked the blue, it was cute, but like I was hiding the banding. The roots were quite bright, and then like in different areas it would just have different strips of different tones and shades. Hence why we now introduce you to the period of crimping the shite out of my hair. A little bit like what I've done today. This is like a lazy girl crimp, but sometimes I use my crimper, which like gives you tight crimps, and I was doing that a lot, or curling my hair a lot at this time, because it hid the kind of crazy tones I had going everywhere. If you're going to be very like clever, you would work on the roots differently to as you do the parts that has had colour on. And this is why, like, I am literally showing you the reason why I always say to people, listen to the colour wheel, because you'll be like me otherwise. And it was annoying because I tried so hard to get that blue perfect, and I just didn't like bleach going anywhere near my hair. I've always been a bit against it. Actually, this is a good picture to show you my hair when it was faded. So when it was fresh blue, when I'd just done a hair dye job, I felt confident because I was like, well, it's kind of covered most of it anyway. But when it started fading, that's when it was really obvious. It started going like a little bit murky. I could deal with that if it was like, you know, strips of different tones, but it was more like bright blue, murk. Do I regret going blue at that time? No, because I was really, really bored of red. I do regret not just transitioning. It probably would have taken like 2 rounds in between red and blue, and the first round would have been pink, and then the second would have been purple. See, look how nice the navy blue was when it was fresh. I love navy blue hair so much, and I mean, look how light my hair is now, ladies and gentlemen. I could probably rock a navy blue so easily and so well now because of the fact I've got such a light base, but I'm so scared because blue is just so damaging. As in, to get it out, it's an absolute pain in the arsehole. I was staining white shirts. Like, I couldn't wear a shirt like this. And like my skin was kind of stained as well, and I remember saying to myself, like, I would literally rather cut my hair off than put bleach on my hair. I just don't like bleaching my hair very often. This is such a random story that no one probably cares about. I binge watched 13 Reasons Why. Is it 13 Reasons Why? The main girl called Hannah in it, she chops all her hair off, and it's like this short. She walks onto the scene and everyone's like, oh my god, you cut your hair. And I was like, I gasped. I just thought she looked so good. And I couldn't stop thinking about Hannah bloody Baker's hair. Is that her name? So I just took a screenshot, sent it to my sister who's a hairdresser, and I was like, Vicky, I want you to do this to my hair. She was like, really? Your hair's really long? And I was like, yes. I get to chop off this annoying freaking part of my hair that keeps on shining through. So that's when I went for the chop. I know that doesn't look that big of a deal, but it was, because like my hair is my confidence at the end of the day. I was really confident with this. I felt like a new kind of, it sounds cringe, but I just felt like a new woman. The fact that I wasn't really fading out my blue hair because I didn't want people to see the build up underneath and like what was actually truly underneath all that blue hair dye, it meant that I was putting like colour on top of colour on top of colour. And although I do use vegetable based dyes, so that's not any chemicals, it's not damaging in that respect, but it was still adding build up on my hair. I wasn't really looking after it by putting oils in it and stuff, because, you know, I didn't want blue to be coming out everywhere. I just very much purposely was keeping product on top of it. So even like when I was brushing it, I couldn't run my fingers through my hair. It just felt matted, and it just needed like a new lease of life. It really did. So finally, I could achieve my little navy blue dreams. So all of this kind of fresh hair that was growing, I was like excited to kind of start anew in a way, because I loved the short hair so much. So I was like, this is a really good opportunity to kind of get a fresh palette again, because I'm just so sick of hair build up, like colour build up. It was just really getting me down for ages. So I just kept chopping away. I was like, Vicky, like my sister, chop, 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 keep going. And every time she was free, I was like, can you chop my hair again? It was at this length last year when I started feeling self-conscious about how thin it looked. Like when someone looked at me from the side, I was always like, oh my God, they're probably looking at how thin my hair is. But I don't know if my hair's thickened up over time, or maybe I was just imagining it. It was some sort of like weird dysmorphia I was going through. I couldn't add volume to my hair. It just felt like it was constantly sticking to my face. So when it was a bob, it came out a bit more. It gave it natural volume without me having to mess with it. Funny thing is, not very long after chopping my hair off though, I decided blue was boring now. I believe about like 3 months after chopping my hair short, I was like inspired by someone else this time, an Instagrammer slash sort of YouTuber. She's on YouTube every now and again. She had her hair short and red, and I was like, then I went and got my red hair back, and I was aware this time that it was going to be more of like a pinky base. But I think you can definitely rock a red hair with a pink base more than you can blue hair with a purple murky base. So I was like, I'm not too bothered about the fact that it might look pink in some lights, because actually that will look quite cool. And then like before I even knew it, my hair was a fresh palette, and it had only history of red all over it, and I was buzzing because it meant that I didn't have to stress so much about remembering different colours I've been and working with all those different colours. The bob went with my face shape as well, because I got like chubby cheeks. I felt like it kind of made me look kind of cute. Ooh, and then one day actually I was intending just to dye my hair red, and I found some orange just sat in my bedroom. So I was like, I'm gonna put some orange in my fringe, because one of my favourite hair colours was that fiery red and orange hair that I had once. I put it in my hair and I just loved it so much. So like I had this kind of like orange situation on my fringe, and then it went into this red at the back, and I just felt like a fiery queen. I remember getting frustrated about how subtle it was. So one day I did actually decide to put the bleach on it, and I was like, screw it, I'm gonna put some bleach in my fringe. It's only my fringe. And then, yeah, that did make the orange a bit brighter, but when a colour that's so similar to another colour is on your head, like if you've got orange which is so similar to red and it sits next to each other on your hair, it's not going to look like massively different. But I loved how it was kind of subtle and you could only see it in like some lights. Speaking of, this inspired me for my next style. I wanted something that looked similar to each other on my head, from the inspiration I had on my fringe orange to red ratio. I wanted something like that, but something like that clashed a little bit, but also like contrasted each other in a really subtle, magical way. This was just before everyone started doing their hair split hair dyes, like one colour here, one colour here. The idea of that looked really fun, but I thought you had to have a middle part in to get that done, but you don't. After so many hours of going on Google checking to see who'd done that and like what colours looked best, once again I took inspiration from the lovely Hayley Williams, and that was exactly what I wanted, that kind of like contrast. I thought it was really unique because at that time in my life I was also getting, I know this sounds so edgy, and like I started seeing a few people on Instagram splitting their hair dye in the middle, and I was like, I need to go on that train before it becomes popular. I did, and I'm just so glad I did, because I was just buzzing. I thought I was so cool. I started getting irked about the fact that people couldn't tell that the colours were different. People were like, oh, I love your pink hair. And I'll be like, have you not seen? It's actually half orange. So I thought I'm going to try something where it's more obvious that there's two tones in this hair colour. So I was like, what? I need to keep either orange or pink. And orange it's nice, but it's a bit boring. Like orange is kind of natural in my eyes. So I was like, I'll keep the pink, but what can I transition orange from? And transitioning orange to purple isn't hard at all. It's actually pretty close in the colour wheel. So I thought I'll give purple a go. Pink and purple go really well together. Like obviously these things look as though I just kind of plonked hair dye on my head, but I really think about the process, guys. Like I already know what my like next 2-year plan is for my hair at this point in time. I was nervous, so I was like photoshopping these colours on my head to see if they'd go well with each other. I was looking up people on Instagram that had done it before to see if they rocked it, see how it looked like realistically in real life, because sometimes you imagine it and it's not as you imagine. when you actually do it. But no, I loved it. It was so cool. And also a bonus with this is when it faded, it actually looked good. Like, I was so happy with how this looked faded. It was like pastel pink and purple. Oh. And obviously, because I had chopped all my hair off recently, there wasn't build up of color underneath, so it actually faded to a nice pastel. So at this point, I just had a cocky less than 5 months of me experimenting with two-toned hair and split hair dye, which was a big thing for me. Like, even though I'd had my hair different colors for God knows how many years, I never really put too many shades on my head. Like, I was too kind of scared to experiment with like, oh no, more than one color. So doing that made me kind of get a little bit like curious, and so I was like, what if I put a different color in my fringe to the 2 colors already on my head? So finding whatever like old tubs of hair dye that I possibly could find in my bedroom and stuff, to shove on my head and just see what happened. And this is probably one of my favorite hair pictures ever that I took spontaneously. I'm so glad I decided to take it. That sounds really cringy, but like, I love when you have a good picture of like a good hair color that you once had. I think it's important. And I also liked how it looked when I was like, if I brushed my hair back, all the colors would kind of just like melt onto each other. The roots were a bit of a problem because it meant every time I had roots and I needed to top up, I obviously had to do the roots and then like put the color I had on this side on and then the color I had on this side on and then my fringe color, and I was a bit like, wow. When you're doing that yourself, it's a bit boring. I kind of changed the dark blue that I put in my fringe to more of like an aqua blue. And I was just having fun trying different things. Every time I had a fresh dye job done and I looked at that purple I had on this side of my head and put that blue on my fringe, the kind of contrast and how they looked together, I always thought looked so good. I was like, ooh, I always looked in the mirror like, oh, look how cool that looks together. So it inspired me to try purple and blue as a two-toned split hair dye job. I gave that a bash. I let my hair fade out and I did it. And pink isn't too far from blue on the color wheel, so I was able to put blue over the pink. And actually it worked really well. I got the pink very faded, and the pink faded really quickly, by the way, anyway. So I was delighted to get rid of it, to be honest. I was like, look, this purple stays around so easily, but the pink is just a nightmare. So I was like, I'm getting rid of the pink, I'm gonna put blue on top. And I also knew this was all planned. Like I said, I do plan in advance and I take things into account. I knew that blue is a very long lasting color. I can go swimming with blue, I can wash my hair with warm water with blue, I can use like any kind of shampoo and conditioner I want when I've got blue hair. And the purple as well stuck around, so I kept that in mind because I knew I was going on holiday soon with Adam's family. We had booked a holiday, and for once I can go on holiday with a cool colour in my head, because I usually just put like a boring colour on my head when I'm on holiday so I can go swimming. The funny thing is, purple hair is probably not my favourite. It's probably my least favourite hair colour. I particularly loved this look when it was dark and fresh. Oh, looked so good. The only problem I would say is styling outfits with 2 different colours on your head is a little bit difficult. Look how cool it looked when you pushed one side of your hair to the other side of your hair. Oh, okay, yes, at this point, I can really smell those flowers now. Whew. I had that hair colour for so long. It was like one of the longest periods of times I hadn't changed my hair, but it was because I was just so busy. I was just busy like moving and doing life that I didn't have like the time. Just it takes time to decide what hair colour you want. It takes time to buy the stuff and then do it and dedicate, like, anyway, takes time, yo. Whilst I'm like busy doing all this stuff, I may as well just fade my hair out and get ready for like a change of some sort. So it had got really faded, and it got to the point where it looked kind of gross, but I didn't really care. When you get older, you don't really care about the fading process as much. It's just like, whatever, looks a bit crap, but I don't really care. It kind of got to the point where it didn't even look like a colour. It was almost like transparent, and some of the strands of hair were just like see-through looking, and then others were just like peach. So that's when I plunked some red on my head, and actually thought it would be fun, because I had such a light base, to bung some orange at the bottom. I was like, why not? It's orangey anyway, but like a weird ass see-through orange. So I put orange at the bottom and then red at the top, thinking it was going to be more vibrant than it was, and it was a little bit naff. But I mean, looking at the pictures now, it looked cute, but like it faded very quick. Like, as you can imagine, when I was washing my red hair up here, the red was just kind of fading to the ends, and then it was making the ends just red. Basically, it just looked like my hair was fading when actually I'd done it like that on purpose. So it was like a nice little ombre effect, but it didn't last very long. I get a reoccurring theme for me, I think, is like I see people's reactions and responses. I'm like, do people like it? Do they even know what I've got? And that's how I judge whether I should keep it. Like, is it worth the hassle? Not saying I do my hair for other people, but you know, it's nice to know what people think of your efforts. Still rocking that bob, still loving that bob life. This is crazy how this photo here was at Christmas time. Thank God I wasn't having the crisis I was having before where I needed it to be cut into a bob, otherwise I lost all my self-confidence because I wouldn't have been able to get anyone to cut it right now because of lockdown. At one point during Christmas or like New Year, I wore this blonde wig that I got gifted for a video that I was doing, and not gonna lie, it made my mind wander, and I was like, might want to try light colours this year. I thought I would start with orange first because that was a colour I technically hadn't properly been, just because it was like too natural for me. Ugh, edgy queen. So I got the red all faded out, and I tried a go at the orange life. I really love redheads, like natural redheads. I love orange auburn hair. I just think it's like, I think it's really cute on girls. I just really love it. So big up you guys. I look really cute, but I got so bored. It's actually insane how bored I got with this hair. I had it for seconds and I was like, okay, I'm done with this now. So one night spontaneously, I just put a bit of like red streak in my fringe just to kind of spice it up, and that helped for like an extra, not even a month. So it was time, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I would try a colour that I felt barely anyone tries. One that scared me as well. Orange was a good way to transition into yellow, so I thought I'm going to make the most of the fact I've got orange on my head. Because when the orange faded, it was such a light base anyway. Like, I was so shocked about how light my hair was. I actually decided to brave bleach. It was the first time I ever thought, like, just do it, Ellie. Let's put bleach on my hair with the intention of basically getting blonde. I've never done that, so it was really scary. So this was how my hair turned out. So it's been really interesting to see what I look like with blonde hair, because for about 7 years, people have been telling me to try blonde. So I got myself to a light base, put yellow on, but it wasn't light enough because it was yellow with orangey ends. Like, the ends still weren't lifted enough. There was still build up of colour there. So there was some time of like yellow pending hair where my head was just like orange for a bit. And then in a kind of weird series chain of events, we happened to fall into this lovely thing called lockdown, and we were told not to leave our house. God, if you want to go yellow, you have to be blonde underneath, otherwise it's not going to work. And I'd never had a colour before that required that, so I was like, okay, this is going to be a mission. Slowly, I'm going to do bleach jobs on my head, like maybe 3 times this month. I'm going to put some bleach on my head and see what happens. Every time I looked in the mirror, I was just like, oof, you're a good base for a nice bright colour. Because when someone who loves bright hair colours sees blonde, first thing they think of is, damn, that's a great base you got there. Yes, it did start off with like maybe some orangey tones I had here and there, but I wasn't bothered. We're in lockdown, so I was like, doesn't matter. If I look crazy for a little bit, I'm in the house. No one cares. It was such a good timing. But I was really curious about what yellow hair was going to fade to. And as you can probably tell, it fades to like a blonde. So I get to be blonde for a little bit, and then yellow for a little bit, and blonde for a little bit. So I'm really enjoying this kind of easy transition, like the fact that it fades to such a colour I can get away with. There's not really many problems with this hair colour. So when I'm bored of yellow, I get to experience blonde for a little bit and have that life, and when I get bored of blonde, I get back to yellow. So I will probably have this for a little while. And the fact that I haven't really gone to events and things, I haven't gone out and seen anyone, so I don't really want to achieve yellow in lockdown, come out of lockdown, and then go a different colour because I feel like I've been yellow for ages, when really I haven't technically, because no one's seen me. Like, I feel as though I want to live life a little bit as a yellow head. And it's so nice to have a fresh base every time this fades. I'm back to like my fresh base. I don't need to bleach it. It just goes back to a blank canvas, and it's magical as hell. Like, I'm so scared to put a new colour on this head because I won't get back to blonde for like probably months and months and months after I start going back into like green territory or blue territory or pink territory. Do you know what I'm saying? So been really nice to have a colour that I don't have to stress about as much. The only thing that is a bit annoying of yellow is the roots. Like my roots really do show. I'm gonna be messing with some greens next, because that was something I wanted to do for 2020. I wanted to like man up and go green. Whether I'm gonna go straight green all over or like implement green with this yellow hair, ideas are welcome down there, by the way. I'm gonna do that. Forest green, I really want to be a forest green. But I am nervous about putting colour into my hair again. Once you go there, you can't go back, and green's hard to get out. But I said to myself, I will do it. I believe after green, I'm tempted to implement blue in it somewhere. So like maybe some like strips of blue and strips of green. I would look like an aqua mermaid mess, but I think that would look really freaking cool. But we'll see when we get there. And that is an update of my journey. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys for my next video. If you want to be notified every time I make a brand new video, then click subscribe. I'm on social media such as Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. I have a Patreon if you want to support me on there, and I have a tarot reading Facebook page if you want to book a tarot reading with me. Speaking of Patreon, I want to thank Aline, Kelly, Lisa, Louise, Cesar, Stevo, Zara, Tony and Becca for being my biggest supporters and for allowing me to do this and supporting me every step of the way. Thank you, and I'll see you for my next video.